Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
And welcome back to America's Heroes Group, our roundtable She Serves, She Matters with our partner NWVU, which is the National Women's Veterans United. June is LGBTQ Pride Month. Today is Saturday, June 11th, 2022. Our host is Cliff Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, Army National Guard veteran and co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. So we have a familiar voice back on the line again, Miss Rochelle Crump. She's our partner and also a U.S. Army veteran and founder and president of National Women Veterans United. How you doing, Rochelle?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. You brought a couple of panelists with us today.
Good to be back.
Yes, it sure is.
Yes, I did.
You got Amanda Depew, U.S. Air Force veteran. Wilverlyn Morris. I hear an echo back there. Somebody's got the radio on, maybe. It's got this feedback and. Yeah, turn it all the way down. There we go. So U.S. Navy, Wilverlyn Morris, she's a U.S. Navy veteran and Army veteran, and we're going to talk about freedom for all and also Roe versus Wade Part 2. Now, what is freedom for all? Again, tell us about that and what that means.
Well, I'll give you my version. This is Rochelle.
Okay.
Did you say Rochelle or did you say Joy? We call her Joy.
Rochelle.
Wilverlyn, we call Joy. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
all right.
You call Rochelle Joy?
No, we're going to call Joy.
Okay.
That's Mrs. Morris.
Oh, okay. Right.
Okay. So did you ask me?
Yeah, or anybody. Let us know, what is Freedom for All about? Is that a movement? Is that an organization that you're putting together? Is it a project?
It's the Constitution that we should be freedom for all. That's the Constitution. You know, there's no hang-ups about who isn't free anymore, so it's freedom for all. Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing, don't you think? That we should all be free.
So we got that feedback back.
So if you want to call it a movement or...
Somebody's got the radio up, maybe.
It's not me. I don't have a radio on.
Are you close to a microphone or a speaker?
Nope, I'm not on speaker.
That's probably not you, Rochelle. I think it's somebody else.
You want me to come off and come back in?
Well, try that. We'll see, because right now we're getting a bad feedback.
Okay. So anyway, that's my version of freedom for all. We should all be free. You know, I don't believe we're in shackles or anything like that any longer. So I think that the Constitution has allowed us, you know, we won't say it's free. A lot of things are not free, but let's just say for the purpose of it, freedom for all. And the one thing that we're talking about is the freedom for women to have say on their own bodies.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people.
We can. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. No, go on.
No, so a lot of people have the concern that yes, people believe that women have the right to do what they want to do with their bodies, but then in the complex nature of an abortion, is there any rights for the child itself? And when is that? And then my question is, when is a child considered a child?
Well, I think that, you know, that has not been declared as of yet.
Well, the court made
it very
clear.
We talked about it being science, and we know that science in itself is a lot of science. It's a lot of studies. It's a lot of medical journals about it, you know, and I would almost equate that to the fact that men cutting or taking off their penises is also science.
What was that you said?
May I interject something here?
Go ahead.
This is Joy, Wilverlyn Morris. First of all, if we're talking about Roe v. Wade, we are not talking about abortion. We are talking about an issue of privacy. Okay? Women have a right, just like anyone else, to privacy. Okay? You're speaking to those of us who have put on a uniform to defend the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights. And that includes the right to privacy. And that's what Roe v. Wade, that's the issue at heart. What I discuss with my doctor, what I do with my body is my business, period, end of sentence, okay? Nobody has the right to legislate what I do, okay? We don't legislate what men do. If we did, okay, maybe you can go get Viagra and that's okay. But when you use the Viagra, where are you going, okay? Now, secondly, who's going to provide? Okay, you're going to make me have a child, but you aren't going to provide child care. You're not going to provide medical care. None of the above, okay? But again, it's not about having an abortion. It's about my right to privacy, and that is the core of the issue. That's how Roe v. Wade got passed through the Supreme Court in the first place, because it was about privacy.
That's right.
What me and my doctor do is up to me, not up to some group of males sitting somewhere on a bench deciding what I can and cannot get.
And that's true. So privacy was a main component of why Roe versus Wade, as it stands today, exists. But there's also two components to that argument, or to the decision. You have privacy being the main reason why it was then legal for Miss Roe, which is what suited him, to go and get an abortion. However, there were conditions applied to it as well. So we have the first, second, and third trimester. Basically, third trimester is pretty much, I think, was almost impossible if I remember the language.
Okay, let's back it up and leave the abortion out of that. If you provide education, if you provide means of stopping them, I'm not talking about rape or incest, any of those things. I'm just talking about a normal young lady out here, going about her business on a daily basis, okay? Because we started about rape and incest and abuse, that's a whole nother argument. But let's just talk about your average Jane Doe, okay, who needs sex education when it comes to sexual matters, who needs birth control or whatever, okay? If we go through these steps, we wouldn't even get to the abortion step.
I agree. I think that's the most important. I think for our communities, the thing we need to be doing better is educating our young kids about, how, if you're going to have sex, how to do it responsibly, but also making sure they're mature enough and responsible enough to handle the consequences of whatever they do.
And stop blaming females. Okay?
Exactly. I agree with you.
These young men, you want to blame it all on a female. Okay? Let's teach young men how to be responsible, and when they are not responsible, let's make them accountable. Okay, I get stuck with the baby. I have no choice. Okay,
right.
But let's start making these young men accountable.
I agree with that. Yeah, definitely. I think that one of the biggest problems in our society, particularly unfortunately with the African American community, is that we have too many fathers that don't take responsibility for their children. That by far is one of the most devastating, I think, problems in our community. Is the fact that there was nothing on earth that would keep me away from my child. Whether it was something that we had planned or not planned, there's nothing on heaven or earth that could keep me away from my child. But you have too many men out there that don't even acknowledge their children.
But there's
that's a whole other ball game too.
There are certain things that are embedded in certain institutions here in the United States, such as educational, financial, all the institutions that there are things embedded in it that make it difficult for African American males also, to do things they need to do too, because they get sent on a whole different path than other people. So,
well, we're seeing that turn around though. It's all men now. We're seeing that, because poverty is playing a big issue and role in the behaviors of people, pretty much.
And that's true. I mean, I think with the next case that's going up to the Supreme Court now. That issue is going to be something that's going to focus more on the abortion part of it. It's going to focus more on the idea of, when does a child have rights, and what freedoms does the child have if the child is considered a human being.
And that is a ploy. That is a ploy to get around the real substance. Okay,
absolutely.
What happens in America is when we can start a conversation, but those in power can change the entire conversation to suit their needs. Okay, and that's what's happening here. Talking about Roe versus Wade and focusing specifically on abortion and that topic changes the whole view, people's view. If you stop focusing on that and focus on the real issues. But that's not what's happening because those in power change the conversation to suit their needs.
But what are the what do you think
Amanda
that
on the
people?
line?
Amanda?
Yes, I finally came back.
Yes. Okay.
So Amanda, what do you have to say about this whole situation? My question is, so when is a child considered a child? And I know the question you're saying is about privacy, but do you really think that the people that are pro-lifers, people that are very adamant about protecting a child's right to life, do you think that they're really concerned about privacy, or do you think it's about taking somebody's privacy away, or do you think they're really just are concerned about wait a minute, are we committing genocide with a generation of innocent children?
So I definitely don't think it's the concern of we're killing a bunch of folks. I mean, that's not new. We do it every day. It's been going on. The country, we're going to say, right, was founded on a genocide, right, what we did with our native First people. When is a child at conception? I don't know. That's a whole, I've wrestled with that since I took an ethics class on medical concerns, and I understand the argument. And you can read one book and it'll tell you one definition, and read another book and tell you a different definition. So what is the answer? I'm unsure. You give me the book you want me to read, and I'll find the answer out of that book and read it back to you if that's the one you want. But when we look at how this is really, for me, a matter of control, and control of what's mine and what's hers. It wasn't that long ago that abortion is what you did in the service if you were a single woman. And it only came about that a woman in Vietnam didn't want to have an abortion, so she hired RBG to fight that for her. And RBG's point was, it's her choice if she wants to have or don't have. And that's where I stand, is that's the choice. Like, do I want to? If I do, I'll have. If I don't, I won't. And I don't see where someone can tell me that I can't, or we're going to look back at some of the marches over the past couple of years concerning masks, where the sign said, "My body, my right." How does a mask have more rights than myself to do what I want to do with my body? I don't, and I further that with, if we're so concerned with life, what about the life after the life makes its entrance and is born into, whatever, a traumatic situation of some sort, and just continues to repeat that cycle because there was no one there after the life came. It was just a matter of, I got to tell her to have that child, now the child's here, deuces. And I can't comprehend that. So is it pro-life, or is it pro-taking your control?
That's interesting. So let's give some background to what's at stake right now. Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization. So the history of this case right now started in 2018 with Mississippi passed a law called the Gestational Age Act, which prohibits all abortions with few exceptions after 15 weeks. And that's what started this whole controversy, was now it's going all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they're going to rule on it. And if they rule in favor of the state act, the Dobbs, then they're going to basically say that you can't have an abortion after the first trimester, for the most part, after 7 weeks, I believe it is, or maybe 15 weeks in this particular case, which could be also an outcome of that. So based on what you just told me, so then how does that stand with you?
Again, that is that person's choice. I'm not in her shoes.
But if that becomes a law of the land, I'm saying if that becomes a law of the land, then what's the next step?
I would imagine that those women will find their way to the sanctuary of Illinois. In other states, there will only be so many of us in order to take care of whatever that business is that they need to take care of that they're not able to do in their own state.
But if it's the law of the land, they won't be able to do it anywhere.
Right.
But again, if we stop allowing the conversation to be switched to abortion, it's not about abortion. That's what is being used to circumvent the real issue. It's the same thing as with when Colin took a bow. Okay, that conversation was about police brutality and police, but it got termed as unpatriotic, spoiled, little rich basketball players. And again, if we keep allowing a certain group to control our conversation, okay, we all need to get registered to vote, okay, and we all need to get up off our duff and go to the polling place. And this will put a stop to a whole lot of these conversations if we put the right people in place, from the dog catcher to the president.
But this is the thing. But this is the reality of the situation, though, because we're dealing with the three-ring circus, which we know is the Supreme Court, the Congress, and you can change the Congress, you can change the president, but we can't change the Supreme Court. That deck's already been stacked.
But keep in mind, Sean, that it's going to be a whole lot. It's just not these conversations. You know what I'm saying? Those conversations will have to go further and further and further, because every time they come up with one thing, something else will come up like it's doing right now. There is no way around all this other than the fact that women have the right pretty much to do what they want with their own bodies, and likely that they should, and they will, because that is just the way it is. And the men have the right to their bodies, and they take privilege to do that. And I'll bring it up again when I start talking about men who wish to change their sex, and they want to be female. No one is bothering them about their body. Nobody is bothering them about them taking off, and they're not, basically, and you have younger people that are doing that too.
That's true.
And you're having much younger people to do that, and they're allowing the parents to make the decision for them that they can do it.
But this is the issue, though. They're not talking about privacy. The arguments now about when is a child.
It should be about privacy, though.
Okay,
it's part of the body. If you can take off one body on a male, you shouldn't have to worry about doing on a woman.
See how you keep staring? We're telling you. We're saying. You asked us a question. We're answering it. Okay, you are determined to make us say what you want us to say. That's what is being done to us all the time.
But I don't want you to say anything in particular.
We're giving you our answer, but you keep bringing it back to abortion, and we're telling you that's not what we're talking about. But you want to talk about that, just like other folks are making this about an abortion. We are, that's the whole issue of what we're trying to say to you. Stop making the conversation about what folks want.
Women are going to do
about what it really is.
I hear you, but at the end of the day, that is what the court case is all about.
At the end of the day, if people like you would listen to us and let us say what we got to say and have the conversation that we're trying to have instead of the one you want us to have, then we can make a difference.
I want you to have your conversation. I'm not trying to tell you what to think or what to say. I'm not trying to. I'm giving you the platform to say what you want to say. Say what you got to say. All I'm saying is the question at hand is
going back to the same thing, and that's what we're saying.
If that question was answered, there would be no discussion at all. It's
really not a discussion at all, because that is, and she's correct.
But evidently it is, because Roe versus Wade is back on the chopping block. That's what it comes out.
Because they want to change.
And if we make it about what it's really about, it won't be on the chopping block. Is what we're trying to get you to say. And if we can't convince you, how in the world are we going to convince other people? We can't even convince you of what we're trying to say.
Well,
I'm telling you that it's our body, and you're steadily coming up with something else. And what if? And what
I'm
if?
asking
We
a
don't want to hear
question.
what if, because the what if is we already have made our decision that this is our body, and we're not going to allow anybody to tell us what to do with it.
Okay, I understand
And
that, but
particularly
at the
when
end
we
of the
have,
day,
basically, when we say freedom for all, I'm going to go back to freedom for all. The freedom of a voice and the freedom of choice.
right, some pro-lifers will say, what about the
And,
freedom of
and
the child?
stand by that. And I stand by that.
And that's fine. I mean, but like I said, people that were back to square one at the beginning of the conversation, right at time. So, Rochelle, I really
And then
appreciate
maybe,
you.
The Supreme Court is going to be caught up in the same situation.
I believe it.
Because they're not going to be able to convince women to give up their rights to have them to tell us what to do and why they should do it.
Rochelle Crump, Amanda
It's just
Depew,
not going to be that easy.
Joy
We fight
Morris.
for everything that we have to get, especially as women veterans.
I appreciate y'all. We're out of
That's
time.
part of
But America's Heroes Group, we'll be right back.